What is Fox News covering today? Zohran's race controversy.
Crushed by the left
for telling the truth,
for having the audacity to tell this story when you know that if this had been a Republican candidate, they would have been cheering on and criticizing the New York Times for not running it if they had.
but they're not Republican candidates, are they, Jessica? They're Democratic office holders. What is it with the Democrats? This guy's got to lie about his race, and Elizabeth Warren spent, gosh, decades lying that she was a Native American, said that she checked the box because her grandfather had high cheekbones, decades lying that she was a Native American, said that she checked the box because her grandfather had high cheekbones. Harvard Law School from 86 to 95 claimed her as a diversity hire, minority law professor. Isn't this a disqualifier? I mean, do you want a bunch of people lying about their race and ethnicity like Elizabeth Warren and Zohran Mamdani to represent your party?
I'm a bit Pocahontas out and have been for several years. When Mamdani applied to Columbia, there was no Indian or South Asian box on the application, which I think does not reflect well on Columbia. And that's certainly a big enough set of demographics that you should have that optionality. As Greg said, he did write in Uganda. He said, I wanted it to, explain the totality of my experience. But I think he could safely assume that if his father is an employee of the administration, they would know where he came from and what he looks like. And obviously his mother isn't someone who we haven't seen a picture of. And he's never identified as Black as far as the reporting has gone. He hasn't gone to a rally and been like, as a Black man, I'd just like to say.
He just did it when it mattered.
Okay, well.
Or when we wouldn't know about it. This was
I think it matters that the true boxes were not available to him. But I do want to say the most important thing that's happening as we get these trickles of information and you see people are unearthing old tweets that he hasn't even tried to hide is that the Cuomo campaign did no opposition. They absolutely took a flyer on this one and thought it would be a cakewalk. I don't know. This stuff is just sitting there.
Are you okay with these
Yeah,
boxes,
Jessica doesn't even like Zohran, by the way. Which is why she's not even defending him sufficiently.
It's a bummer that Columbia didn't have the right box. Well, that's your fault. You guys instituted the idea of identity boxes. Now you're going to be in that box, whether you screw it up or not.
Well,
Jesse.
I'm pro boxes. I mean, if I show up freshman year and like the entire class is Asian, I mean, what happened there? You got to know who's coming in. I mean, these things can happen, Greg. You got to be a little more precise, okay? It's not about ethnicity in its totality. It's about something you need to know about the student. Not everything, just something. This guy, 2 Indian parents, born in Africa. That's like 2 Mexicans having a baby in Africa. The kid's not Black, okay?
Bro, that's crazy. One guy said, abolish all racial categorizations. The other one said, no, I need it so I can be racist. The diversity of opinion on the right is amazing.
That's a great idea. They're always looking for South American applicants.
But he probably doesn't know that.
Actually Mexican.
Now, okay, so Elizabeth Warren was 1,024th.
You said the parents.
No, that's a nationality. That's a nationality, Dana.
Spanish.
It's different than an ethnicity.
See the
Ethnicity
problem?
is bloodline.
This is your fault, Jessica.
And I do know his SAT scores. Rufo got them.
2,100.
And they're subpar for Columbia standards.
Columbia, but they're good.
What were they?
2,100 out of 25.
But I don't even know what 2,100 out of 2,400
You
is.
can't stick us in one. Up next, a gunman opening fire on Border Patrol as Democrats crank up.
Bro, what the He didn't go to Columbia, man. His dad was a professor at Columbia, and he still didn't get in. All of these conversations that's taken place is over something that he didn't even do. It's also really funny because they're like, oh, his SAT scores are bad. They're not. They're actually really good. They're just not like clearly Columbia level good, even when your dad is is an academic there. None of this makes sense. How is any of this newsworthy? I don't understand it. It was such a non-newsworthy incident that it was more newsworthy than the New York Times even went with that story to begin with. Context about a Zohran tweet that is supposed to be an own. Lol, the context for this was a post about getting more Twitter followers. Can we please help Zohran catch up to me in followers? A quarter of Astoria tenants spend half their income on rent. Investors are buying up on our rich neighborhoods to build luxury housing. It's just a huge burden having all this clout and needing it to use to help my comrade all the time. Each according to their need, each according to their ability. Wait, what? What are they mad about? Wait, so what? Why is that like... Bro, no one cares about this. Why would anybody be like, I can't believe he said each according to their need, each according to their ability? How is this in any way like, God? One of the things that I personally despise, I cannot stand this at all, especially because I'm victim to this so frequently, is a method that the right regularly applies to the left, where they will manufacture outrage over something that is not outrageous at all. And simply the act of pointing the finger of blame and saying, shame on you for this, is enough for many people to go, oh, that's actually shameful. We're experiencing a smaller version of this already in this community. A much smaller and less impactful version of this is the whole Hasan wanted to kill a random YouTuber that they just, these right-wing YouTubers decided to whip up out of nowhere. It's just not real, right? It's not a real situation at all. But simply because enough people are saying this is real, people have to act as though, people have to basically fake themselves and delude themselves into believing that there is a real story here. It's just concern trolling. You waved a gun. What do you mean, bro? See, like, this guy is literally in the process of doing it while he's in the chat. Okay? He is in the process of doing it. A dude whose name is like Apex Crypto YouTube with a YouTube page. He's a content creator on this website. Comes in here and says, you should be hanged for treason. That Zohran should be hanged for treason. You should be hanged. You should be hanged. Like, issues death threats. I turn around and flash my fake airsoft gun and I say, good luck. Okay? Good luck to you. And then people act as though this is like the most impactful thing that's ever happened. Why won't this guy get arrested? This guy has to get arrested. This guy has to get arrested. And it's not a real situation at all, but it doesn't matter. Everyone will keep like creating this environment where it's a big deal. Please, why is this not a big deal? And then they'll move on to the next thing. And the same goes for this. It's nothing. This is not a real thing at all. Okay? You waved the prop gun, bro. So now they're playing their part in acting scared. Yeah. So it's just fake. And a part of what's like so annoying about discourse nowadays is that people don't even care to come across like they're honest. Okay? They know that they're being dishonest, and the audiences will not turn around and punish them for their dishonesty. The audience demands dishonesty. So they'll just like act as though they are personally offended or personally scared. Same thing with like older tweets. They keep pearl clutching around older tweets that Zohran posted, right? About like I don't know, like Christopher Columbus. He has like a photo of him like flipping off the Christopher Columbus statue and being like, "This is so messed up," or saying, "Take it down," right? This is not a real controversy at all. You're desperately trying to make this a real controversy. And I think in this day and age, Democrats broadly should not entertain this stuff at all. Okay? They should broadly refuse to entertain this stuff because it's completely ridiculous. When you even remotely call into question or even act as though this is like somehow an embarrassing thing that you did, you're lending credence to these charlatans who themselves don't believe the actual impact that they're suggesting this has. You're giving it more credibility. It's that simple. Let them chirp into nothingness and say, oh, you're just avoiding accountability. It's like, what? Accountability from what? It's incredibly stupid. Accountability from what? Why are these guys behaving like 2016 era SJWs? I thought we had moved on from this. This is a classic case of a disingenuous weaponization of concern trolling. It's pearl clutching. These guys don't give a Why do you? Why should you? Why should anybody care about this? Now, are there things that Zohran could have done in the past that meets the standard that deserves scrutiny? Certainly. Everyone has done that meets that standard. But none of the things that they're trying to whip up into a controversy here is actually a real controversy at all. So there's no reason to ever cave or give into it or even like offer any sort of analysis to be like, oh, well, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry that I did this. I'm so sorry that I did that. Like that. Because if you apologize or even come across like you've done something indecent when you've done nothing indecent. You basically have turned it into an issue. You literally have given your enemy ammunition. You've given your ideological opposition a real struggle all of a sudden, a real battle that they won. That's it. Don't lean into it. That's also part of the reason why I get mad when dumb in this chat will bring shit like this up and be like, well, what do you have to say to this? This guy, this like barely literate moron said this about you. And it's like, I don't care, man. What am I supposed to do? Yes, brother, people make shit up. People also fake being upset or angry. It is utterly unproductive to hyper focus on that at all. Yeah, Josh Gottheimer is of course coming after him because he's one of the worst Democrats. But one of the things that the New York Times did in this story, for those of you who don't know the details of the story, Zohran Mamdani is an Indian man, originally from Gujarat. His family is, at least. He's Indian Muslim whose family comes from Gujarat, who was born in Uganda. Okay? And when he was applying for colleges, in the college application, he picked African American, and then in the other box put Uganda, okay, alongside I think Asian. And it was for a college application that actually didn't go anywhere. He didn't go to Columbia University. His father was a professor there, and he didn't even end up going there. And I guess like some hackers actually hacked into the database to uncover these files of all of the people that had applied to Columbia over the course of many, many years. And they went through that file and they found his information, his hack material. But the problem here is that there is nothing relevant in this. There is nothing, like he didn't get a leg up from this, you know what I mean? And his response was pretty clear, which is that he wanted to showcase the complexity of his background. It's understandable. He does have a very unique background. And I don't really give a shit about this at all. But it is yet another line, a desperate line of attack against a very popular socialist, because people don't want a Muslim anti-Zionist socialist, an anti-Israel socialist, to actually win any power in the party whatsoever, because then people will get the wrong opinions that you can actually be this way. You can actually be someone who's anti-Israel openly and not get punished for it. You can actually be someone who is in favor of uplifting the working class and win elections. Like, that's terrifying. That's a terrifying prospect for a Democratic Party that doesn't want to do anything of the sort. It's a terrifying prospect for the Republicans that know that they will lose if there were more people like Zohran Mamdani out there running campaigns. So there is a full-scale assault from every angle. And here is a Democrat, Representative Josh Gottheimer, also leaning in on the nonsense.
Confused by how people go ahead with a lot of the ideas that he's put forth, and if you saw this weekend when he was asked to condemn globalize the Intifada, right, and he refused, which is a call for a wave of terror. It was a call for a wave of terror against Jewish people around the world, and he refused to condemn that language. And as far as I'm concerned, somebody who refuses to condemn hate speech is not acceptable, and I'm looking for him to clarify that, as well as his other socialist policies. So, there's got to be a lot of clarification before I start to warm up to the idea of him being mayor.
He says it's not the language that he would use when he was pressed on that by Kristen Welker on NBC. What do you think it says?
Yeah,
about
he
the
refused
Democratic
to
Party?
Yes, dude. Yes. I don't even think he should have said that, but whatever. Because that's not the real issue here. The real issue is saying anything that's remotely anti-Israel. That's the real issue. That's what these motherfuckers are mad about. Globalize the Intifada. They'll try to grab on anything they can. This is exactly what I was talking about. Chat. They are desperately trying to make a mountain out of a molehill. This is outrage farming. They are manufacturing outrage where no such outrage exists. The average person does not give a shit about this, okay? They care about whether you're pro-Israel or anti-Israel. Everything else is optics. Okay? That's it. He should have explained that it just means struggle. He didn't, the uprising. He didn't the last time he was asked. No, he did. He did actually say that. He said it means uprising in Arabic. People are scared of an Arabic word. Even the Holocaust Museum actually translated the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising as Warsaw Ghetto Intifada on their website. Except the problem is the Holocaust Museum, and I can't believe these are a sequence of words that I'm using. Like when I was growing up, I never thought I would say these words. But the Holocaust Museum is indecent and is working at the behest of Israeli interests. And therefore, they literally changed the Arabic translation. They changed it last year in the March of 2024 because people had brought this point up already. That is great. No, that's not Trump appointees. They did it before Donald Trump. The current Holocaust Museum board is all Trump appointees, but they did this in March of 2024 last year before Donald Trump was in office. They did this under the Biden administration. They changed it to Mukawama. I think I'm saying it incorrectly, but it's the ironically it's the Arabic word that Hamas, the M in Hamas is, okay? That's what they changed it to. They changed it to a more radical word. Yeah, Mukawama means resistance. For those of you who don't know, because everyone's always shocked, Hamas is an acronym, okay? It's an acronym for Harakat, which means movement, Al-Mukawama Al-Islamiyya, which is the Islamic resistance movement. Mukawama, the word that the Holocaust Museum changed in the Arabic translation from Warsaw Ghetto Intifada to Warsaw Ghetto Mukawama, is Warsaw Ghetto resistance. That's what Mukawama means. And it is what the M in Hamas stands for. I will repeat once again. Harakat al-Mukawama al-Islamiyya. The Islamic resistance movement. Mukawamet. And one of the most insane aspects of this New York Times reporting was that they were worried, according to Semaphore reporting on the matter, because this is more newsworthy. The fact that New York Times took this hack material from a eugenicist who spends most of his time talking about like black people's IQ and how it's inferior to Jewish people's IQ, how it's superior and all this other shit. Okay? They got this from a account called Cremio, who they literally hid the identity of, by the way, for no reason. He was already outed. He is a straight up prominent white nationalist by the name of Jordan Lasker. Okay? New York Times got this from like a Richard Spencer type. Like, can you imagine? The New York Times is collaborating with Richard Spencer to take down Zohran Mamdani. What the f are we doing? Why did the Holocaust Museum change it from Intifada to Mukawama? Because Zionist groups pressured the Holocaust Museum to change it because people kept saying Intifada just means uprising. It's just the Arabic word for uprising. You're being ridiculous. The Warsaw Ghetto Uprising translates to the Warsaw Ghetto Intifada in the Arabic language version on the Holocaust Museum website. And because they kept using this as a talking point, the Holocaust Museum quietly changed the translation to a different word so that people like Zohran, when they point to that, could turn around and say, it's not the case, actually. It's not. It's Mukawama. It's incredibly stupid. It's an incredibly stupid back and forth anyway, because who gives a f? It's the truth. Warsaw Ghetto Uprising was translated as Warsaw Ghetto Intifada because it's an Arabic word for uprising. That's what the Intifada is. They didn't change it to the Arabic word for tickle party, you know? They didn't go Warsaw Ghetto Tickle Party in Arabic. They changed it to a different word, resistance. Who gives a f? It's still the same. It's the same energy. It's all the same shit. Now, the New York Times came out and had their like standards and editorial board basically come out and say like, we thought this was newsworthy. Then Semaphore actually investigated it a little bit further and found, this is from a senior New York Times reporter, about the reductive political economic worldview that drives much of mainstream corporate U.S. journalism, says that the widely criticized Mamdani piece must have been legit because it created conversation and debate. Okay? After a lot of people, classic New York Times fashion, got mad at the New York Times for doing this because they were like, who the f cares? Why is this newsworthy? What the f are you doing? Like, you, the New York Times, working with and sheltering the identity of a known white supremacist is infinitely more newsworthy than the fact that Zohran Mamdani ticked a box that said he was African when he's from Uganda, like in a college application that he didn't even get into. Who gives a f? His dad is a part of the His dad is a part of the college. His dad was a professor at Columbia, and he still didn't get in. Despite some public criticism and internal grumbling, the paper's leadership has continued to back the piece. One person familiar with the editorial process noted that the Times senior editors were aligned on whether to publish the piece, which was read and greenlit by multiple top editors before its publication. Others on staff that spoke with Semaphore on the condition of anonymity said the reaction to the piece showed why it was important to tackle it. The fact that the story engendered all the conversation and debate that it feels like all the evidence you need that this was a legitimate line of reporting, one reporter told Semaphore. Like, it's so stupid. They're literally, the New York Times is now doing, I was just pretending to be stupid as a line of defense. Wow. Seems like we kicked the hornet's nest here. But the most damning aspect of this from Semaphore was that the New York Times pushed ahead with its story about Zohran Mamdani's application to Columbia University to avoid being scooped by Christopher Rufo. Christopher Rufo, man. The guy who is the guy who works for the Manhattan Institute think tank, whose entire job is to basically find out if there's like trans people existing anywhere and make that everybody else's problem. Like, these are not normal people. These are evil villains, okay? And in Christopher Rufo's case, not even like successful evil villains, but just like dumb charlatans in general. How are you worried about getting scooped by Christopher Rufo, man? Who gives a shit? You're the paper of record. Write a story about how stupid this is after the fact. But here we are.
Just to condemn. But why wouldn't he just outright condemn the language? Why would you not condemn anti-Semitic language? You saw it happen.
It's not anti-Semitic language. You didn't prove that it was anti-Semitic language. Something that offends you as a Jewish American does not automatically mean it's anti-Semitic. Okay? I'm a Muslim American. If someone were to say, Hasan, like, I don't know, I like bacon, or I think that your distaste for seafood is disgusting, that doesn't mean it's something that's offensive to me, okay? But that doesn't mean it's actually anti-Islam or Islamophobic, okay? Or if someone were to say sacrilegious things such as, LeBron James is not the greatest athlete of all time. I, Hassan Piker, a Muslim American, find that to be unconscionable. I find that to be sacrilegious. I find that to be completely insane. But this still does not make it Islamophobic, okay? Something that offends me personally does not automatically make it Islamophobic, okay? This is so stupid. I apologize to everyone else for even uttering the words that LeBron is not the greatest athlete of all time. I did it again. Apologies once again for saying that. It's obviously sacrilegious, but it needed to be done so that I could prove a point here. Okay?
Washington, Boulder, Colorado, and the surge of hate around the country. Why would you not condemn hate speech? You know, and that's not something that should be confused.
Oh, it's anti-Semitic and it's hate speech. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. Anti-Semitic hate speech. Globalize the Intifada. Anti-Semitic hate speech. Globalize the uprising. Anti-Semitic hate speech. Like, what are we doing here? What the do you mean it's hate speech? These people unironically do the same thing that white racists do when they miscalculate what the N-word actually means. They think it's just a word that like hurts the feelings of black people. Okay? They don't understand that in order for something to be hate speech, there needs to be association with dehumanization and some form of like tangible systematic harm that the word is associated with. Okay? It's not just, the N-word is not bad because it hurts the feelings of black people. The N-word is bad because it's historically been deployed as a mechanism of dehumanizing black people, and successfully been deployed as a mechanism of dehumanizing black people. So when someone says the N-word, they're basically relitigating all of that and reminding black people the ongoing violence and systematic harm that they have to endure, that they have to experience even in modern society. There is no equivalence when you say globalize the uprising, but in Arabic. There's no equivalence when someone is engaging in the emancipatory slogan of saying from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. We do not actually decide something is anti-Semitic or something is a form of violent bigotry by the feelings of a couple of people who claim that it's scaring them. Okay? Oh, like this didn't happen for the N-word in particular. This did not happen because like a bunch of black people got together and they were like, let's find a word that white people can't say. It'll be like our little secret. We'll act like it actually hurts our feelings, so we can like cynically claim that like white people are racist when they use it. Like that's not the etymology behind it. That's not how this word came about, and that's not the reason why it's like considered a slur for understandable reasons. Okay, it is associated with systematic harm. It is both a reminder of the historic harm that has happened, the historic dehumanization that has happened, and is a reminder of the ongoing dehumanization that continues. Okay? There is no fucking equivalence between something like that, a real form of bigotry, like the K word for Jews. There's a word for it. There's a word for it. Okay? That is anti-Semitic hate speech. Why? Or even Shylock, when Trump was using the word Shylock. Like, this is a consistent form of a persistent form of anti-Semitism. Oh, like Jews are notoriously shitty money lenders. Like they control all the money. Like that is actually anti-Semitic, right? For those of you who don't know, obviously there's also a varying degree of terms. Obviously, Shylock is multi-use. Like for example, when you're talking about the fucking Shakespeare usage of it, even though that is also inherently an anti-Semitic stereotype, like there's a difference between saying that versus saying the K word, for example, which I will not say. There's a difference between like the word queer versus the F slur, for example. I think you guys understand this. Anyway, I find it wild which slurs you are willing to say even with an academic context. What do you mean? I think there's a pretty well-established like no word. There's a bunch of words that you shouldn't say and can't say, and it's understandable to not say it. And from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free does not meet that. Okay, does not meet that standard. I agree with you that it shouldn't be said. It's just off rhythm for you to say one, then skip the next one. Say what and not the next. Say which word and not the next, chatter. Do you feel like both of these words are to the same severity? They're not. Okay? They're not. That's why I gave you an example from a different marginalized group of queer, which is multi-use, okay, versus the F slur, which is not multi-use, at least in its contemporary application. Do you understand? Imagine if you said the C slur for white people. Oh, you mean cracker? Exactly. How do you draw the line? You'll just know it when you see it.
No.
Okay? You'll just know it when you see it. And you all know it. You all know it, and every single person that is acting as though this is completely unacceptable or offensive is doing it to concern troll so they can fucking farm clips after the fact. Okay? Stop. If you're not sure, just don't say it. I never said I wasn't sure. Oh, you're talking to the other chatters. Anyway. Also, something that is, I guess, unique, surprising, is you find allies in the strangest of places when the New York Times is so off base. This time, it's Curtis Sliwa. This is the second time where Curtis Sliwa has gone on Fox News, who is running as the Republican in the New York mayoral race, by the way. For those of you who don't know, the beret guy. Okay? Curtis Sliwa, who famously said, don't go after Zohran's religion. It doesn't matter that he's Muslim, has now come out and talked about the Mamdani piece in the New York Times. Let's take a look at what he had to say.
This broke just before the show. According to the New York Times, he identified on his college application as Asian and African American. He doesn't consider himself black, but said the application didn't allow for the complexity of his background. What do you make of that, Curtis?
Well, I do know he is a practicing Muslim, and I've advised our colleagues, of which there are many on our side of this issue, because we know Zohran will destroy this city. Do not attack his religion. Leave the religion alone. If you don't want to see him elected, there are 1 million Muslims in New York City who can vote, many of them with conservative values, many of them who voted for Donald Trump for president. So you can criticize
made that background the center of his campaign.
Right. You can criticize him as being a communist, socialist, anti-Semite, Czech. Leave the religion alone. Now, he would consider himself Southeast Asian, although he's of Indian heritage, his mother and father. He grew up in Uganda. So I guess You could sort of put it in the blender. I don't have a problem with how he self-identified.
Okay.
It is unbelievable that motherfucking right-wing fascist Curtis Sliwa is more reasonable on this issue than the fucking New York Times, dude. Anyway, to give some more context that the New York Times failed to add, here's the comparable section on Baldwin's undergrad application from 2009 where Zohran Mamdani ended up going. It included birthplace, first and primary languages, included African, and split Asian into 2 categories. Okay? As opposed to the questions that Columbia had here. When he said that the Columbia application lacked options to more accurately describe his identity, so he made do, the primary context is all the other college applications he was filling out at the time, and this corroborates that point entirely. Bowden, sorry, not Bowdoin. I always say it wrong. But once again, it doesn't fucking matter. It does not matter. Yeah, also, there's apparently a massive, massive Israeli occupying force ambush that took place in the hands of the Harakat al-Muqawwama al-Islamiyah, also known as Hamas, the Al-Qassam brigades. We're waiting on more details on that. But here, let's wrap this up.
By the way, against anybody, whether you're talking about against Muslims, against African Americans, against anybody, you should right away not hesitate and condemn hate speech. And so I don't understand where any confusion is there, and I'm expecting him, I hope, to clarify his position. But listen, I believe the Democratic Party needs to move in the direction of common sense and reasonableness, of affordability, and I think that's where we should be going.
Shut the fuck up, Gottheimer. Curtis Sliwa should be controlled opposition when America has a communist dictatorship. Sliwa doesn't care about Mamdani's Islam or the college app stuff and refuses to be paid off to drop out so Trump's GOP can replace it with a more racist candidate law. Respect. Anyway.